his holy feet is um, absolutely the sole guidance for many devotees who seek liberation. So Vimochana Mayyan in this case is um, the perfect um, abidance in the feet of Lord grants one the salvation that they would need. So the first nuance is what did Muruganar mean by um, Malarthal or Vire Malarthal? There is an explanation that in very many places Muruganar has gone around and given that explanation, which is Thal or the reference to Adi or any reference to the feet of Lord is the representation of our own inner awareness, which is what we are supposed to gain when we do the self-inquiry. So Malarthal usually refers to that fragrant feet, which is our own inner awareness. So for those of us who pursue the self-inquiry, when we gain inner awareness, that alone is the one that grants us the vimochana, which is salvation. And such a thing is granted to us by Mayyan, who is Lord Ramana. So the word virai has multiple meanings. Obviously, there are several references to this meaning one could find. The oldest reference I could find is in old poem called Paripadal, which is in Sangam literature. Virai has the Paribodal poem has an elaborate explanation of Virai, which is a particular scent that's made of 5 different subcomponents or 5 different fragrances. But the thing about Virai is it's a type of scent that can subsume all other scents. It's a scent that absorbs all other scents. Why is that interesting? Because loosely speaking, our mental tendencies or our predispositions are called as vasanas, or it's a type of scent. So, in other words, our mental tendencies guide us externally away from the source, and those are called vasanas, or the smell, roughly speaking, a type of scent. Whereas Virai Malarthal is the scent that subsumes all those individual vasanas and guiding us to the inner awareness, which is Virai Malarthal. So the important thing here is the abidance in our natural inquiry, which reveals us to our inner awareness, which then leads us to be absorbed in the holy feet of the Lord, that eventually leads us to our salvation. So if we think about it, in this particular line, Muruganar has condensed the entirety of Bhagavan's self-inquiry in a simple, poetic verse. There are beautiful references to this sort of Virai Malar in many verses. And in fact, there are many Devaram verses, many Tiruvachakam verses have this phrase used. I'll particularly highlight one Tiruvachakam verse um, which refers to this phrase, but actually extols how a particular, Shiva devotee, in this case Mickkavachagar, surrenders himself to the Lord Shiva, and how he prays for gaining Lord Shiva's absolute refuge through his surrender. So this verse is Meidan Arumbi, Vidir Vidirthu, Virayar Kalar, Virayar Kalarku, Yen Kaidan Talaivaithu, Kannir Tadumbi, Vidumbi, Ullam Poidan Tavirthu, Unnai Potri, Jaya Jaya Potri Ennum, Kaidan Nihilavireen, Udayai Ennai Kandugulle. I'll read that again. Meidan Arumbi, Vidir Vidirthu, Virayar Kalar Ken, கைதான் தலை வைத்து கண்ணீர் ததும்பி வெதும்பி உள்ளம் பொய்தான் தவிர்த்து உன்னை போற்றி ஜெய ஜெய போற்றி என்னும் கைதான் நெகிழவிடேன் உடையாய் என்னை கண்டுகொள்ளேன். So in this verse, Manikkavachagar goes on giving an elaborate explanation, a very, if you think of like an X-ray like explanation of what has happened to him in the process of his surrender. Meidan Arimbi. In this case, Mei is referring to his body. Arimbi means it's perspiring. Vidir Vidirthu. It is shaking. His body is perspiring and he's shaking. Un Virayar Kalarken. He's saying, your holy feet, Virayar, in this case, the fragrant, or your holy feet, which can subsume all my vasanas. En Kaidan Talai Vaitu. I raise my hands over my head. Kannir Tadumbi, with tears rolling down my cheeks from my eyes. Vidumbi, Ullam Poidan Tavirtu, avoiding all falsehood in my mind and my heart. Unnai Potri, I just praise you. Jai Jaya Potri Ennam, I praise, like live forever, live forever. Jaya Jaya means it's a type of benediction. Kaida Nehilavitain, I just let my hands loose, meaning I drop my ego. That's a subtle reference to that. Udayai, he's referring to the Lord here, the one who could possess anybody or one who could possess me. Ennai Kandukollen, please come and take pity on me, or please grant me refuge, or let me surrender unto you. So that's the rough meaning. I'll read it again. Maidan Arimbi, Vidir Vidirthu, Virayar Kalarken, Kaidan Talai Vaithu, Kannir Tadumbi, Vidimbi Ullam Poidan Tavirthu, Unnai Potri Jai Jaya Potri Ennum, Kaidan Negilavideen, Udayai, Ennai Kandukollen. Sorry, I meant Kaidan Negilavideen. I couldn't let go of you. Right? I wouldn't drop my hands. That's what it meant. Um, but you could see the word Virayar color here, which is again it's a type of fragrance that can subsume, or it has the potency to subsume all other types of fragrances that that could be spun out of our minds, or all our tendencies, all our actions that are driven by your ego get subsumed by the holy feet of the Lord, which is shining in our heart as our inner awareness all the time. And Bhagavan's quintessential teaching is to abide in that, to search for who the self is or who the identity is, and be in that um, uh, extensive, or be in that uh, awareness, or the inner awareness that's effulgent in us. So that is the summary of this particular line. Vimochana Meyyan Virai Malar Tal Valha. So as I said, the first line is Namo Ramanaya Nalampera Valha. The second line is Vimochana Meyyan Virai Malar Tal Valha. So first line, he lays down the entire premise of the poem. The second line, he lays down the reason behind the premise, which is to the mantra Namo Ramanaya has the potency to grant anyone the full salvation that they seek through their inner awareness by holding on to the feet of the Lord. Now, then he goes on to explain to his own, in this case, Muruganar's experience of, with Bhagavan. And part of this is he generalizes to any jiva or any ego that's aspiring to Lord Ramana's feet. அடிமுடிக்கு உண்டாய அநாதித் தொடர்பின் விடமுடியா மெய்மறந்து விட்டுழல் புன்னாயேனை பக்திமால் ஏற்றி அகப்பட்டி மனத்து ஊனமறு சுத்தியால் அங்கபடித்து உய்யச் சுடர் தோற்றி தவவிரத ஞானத் தழல் வேள்வி வேட்பித்து அவபிரத நோக்க அமுது ஆட்டி ஆண்ட பிரான். So this is a whole complete verse. I kept it together because we couldn't break it, because it's a continuous explanation. It's a continuous outpouring by Muruganar. We will break this down word by word. அடிமுடிக்கு உண்டாய அநாதி தொடர்பின் விடமுடியா மெய்மறந்து விட்டு உழல் புன்னாயேனை பக்திமால் ஏற்றி அகப்பட்டி மனத்து ஊனம் அரு சுத்தியால் அங்கவடித்து உய்யச் சுடர் தோற்றி தவவிரத ஞானத் தழல் வேள்வி வேட்பித்து அவவிரத நோக்க அமுது ஆட்டி ஆண்ட பிரான். So I left the entire meaning in the bottom for those of us who want to read later. So, அடிமுடிக்கு உண்டாய அநாதி தொடர்பின். Adi usually means the feet, Mudi means the head. In this case, Adi means the individual Jiva, Mudi means the Supreme Self or Paramatma. Undaya, the connection between the individual Jiva and the Supreme Self. The Undaya means establishing. Anadi, from time immemorial or beginningless. Todarbin, the relationship. Vidamudiya mei marandu. Vidamudiya mei is the indivisible unity. Mei is in this case truth. So adimudikku undaya anadi todarbin vidamudiya mei. It says the eternal relationship between the Jiva and the Supreme Self, which is a Paramatma, has existed forever or time immemorial as an indivisible unity. However, we forget that. Marandu, we forget that. Because of that forgetfulness, vittu uyal punnayenai. In this case, he refers to Muruganar, wandered aimlessly, like a street dog trapped in the illusion that this body is the self. So how would we forget the Jiva is indivisible with Paramatma? Because of the duality, and the duality is caused because of the misconception that the self is the body. So how do we get the cure for this? So he's identified the problem here, which is initially there is the truth, and it's the truth that has existed forever. However, because of the intermittent forgetfulness, we carry the pain like a street dog that goes around. We wander around through our mind, through the faculties of the mind, to gain happiness through external objects. For that problem, the solution is given in the next 4 lines. Bhakti mal etri agapatti manattu oonamaru suttiyal angavadittu. So like how a statue is carved by an artist in chiseling the unwanted portions of a rock to get the statue made. Bhaktimal, through lighting up my inner devotion, Bhagavan sculpted my inner being to remove manattu oonam aru, to remove the brokenness, or to remove the pain, or to remove the unhealthy mind. He used a chisel, like how a statue is carved out of a piece of stone. He is carving out my understanding of the inner awareness through my mind, which until this point in time has been wandering like a street dog. And what is a chisel? It is what has been described previously, which is the quintessential practice of who am I, or being constantly in the inner awareness of through self-inquiry, as Bhagavan has mentioned in multiple different places. And what next? Uyya chudar totri. To save me, his radiant effulgence has been sighted through that process, or through that absorption of inner awareness. The radiance of self-effulgence comes about. Tava virada ஞான தழல் வேள்வி வேட்பித்து. Tavam is penance. Viradam is, the art of practicing fasting for spiritual gains. Tavam, Viradam. So, even though these acts of um, uh, like penance or fasting, even without it, only through the unwavering practice of self-inquiry, jnana tharal, it's the fire of wisdom, வேள்வி வேட்பித்து, the fire of wisdom, which is வேள்வி itself, which is the ultimate penance, which is the continuous practice of self-inquiry, or to be in the inner awareness. அபபிரத நோக்க அமுது ஆட்டி ஆண்ட பிரான். Abhabaradam is it's the final offering in the sacrificial fire ritual. Nokka amudu atti andapiran. So through his nectar-like eyes, or through his eyesight, Bhagavan has consumed me like Abhabaradam, which is like by handing over my residual egos as a final offering in the fire of jnana, or in the fire of wisdom. So here, there are three things. The initial truth, which is the undifferentiated singularity. From that, the mind spins out as duality arises. And because of the duality, the pain comes about. The pain comes about because the mind goes about wandering like a street dog. And the way that goes back in its source is, first of all, the point of devotion has been lit up in the mind. As the devotion is lit, Bhagavan chisels us as we continue to practice self-inquiry, which is constantly looking for the source and being in the presence of the inner awareness. As that happens, whether no need for any other practice except this, and that ultimate penance of being the jnana fire, and through the grace of Bhagavan that pours through the eyes, we are back in the source. So in this section, Muruganar lays down the original premise, the practical problem, and the solution to the practical problem, which is he calls Bhakti Mal 8. First, it starts with devotion. Then the continuous chiseling that we need to do, which is constant self-inquiry. Eventually, that self-inquiry becomes absorbed through Bhagavan's grace. So he lays down three different distinct things. At the end of it, the self alone exists. So it goes back to Adimudikku Undai Anadi Thodarbu, which is the state in which undifferentiated bliss or undifferentiated contentment exists in the self. Let me pause to see if there are any questions. So we are roughly at time. It's roughly 4:54 in the Eastern time. This is meant to be an hour. We will pick up the next section when we meet next time in Sunday. In the meantime, if you had any suggestions or thoughts about how to make these sessions better, please do let me know. And if you had any questions, we would be happy to explore them together. And if not, we will see you next Sunday. Namo Ramanaya.
Namo Ramanaya.
Namo Ramanaya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namo Ramanaya. Thank you, Hari.
Thank you.
Namo Ramanaya. Thank you.